and welcome back to the Hairy Tarantula. I'm Alex, and this is Brian. Today we will be talking about Paranoia, the roleplay game.
Well, Paranoia is a game set in the perfect utopia that is Alpha Society, where everyone's needs are met, there's never any conflict, we have peace and love and goodwill to all under friend and computer. And that's really all there is to Paranoia. There's no secret societies, there's no mutants, there's certainly no renegades or any rogue activities going on. And if you think otherwise, that is treasonous. And you are a traitor sentenced to be... I'm sorry, something came over me. Alex, you were asking me about Alpha Society and Friend Computer?
Sure. Tell me about Friend Computer then.
Well, Friend Computer is the all-knowing, all-wise entity which rules over us justly and fairly.
Okay.
Make sure that the reds are in their place, the oranges are in their place. And I should go into a bit of detail about this. In Alpha Society, everyone is ranked according to a Roy G. Biv system. If you're a red, you're on the lowest level of the scale. There's orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Ooh, I almost close. There might be another secret color, but you don't need to worry about that one. You don't need to worry about those.
What's the differences between the colors?
Difference in the colors give you like different security clearance, how well people will treat you, your kind of access to resources. But beyond that, not too much. Oh, that is a lot. That's enough stuff.
Okay.
But going into the world a little bit more there also is when we're talking about playing Paranoia, playing in the world of our society, you're in a world where there's lots of technology and there's lots of strange things that are going around you, and not everything's working quite as right as you might think it is.
Okay.
So systems that should work aren't working. Sorry, Friend Computer. I'm about to betray you right now. Oh, but please don't report me.
Well, maybe.
Hey,
What's it worth?
what's it worth? Perhaps 50 XP points, at least in the Red Clearance Edition. This Paranoia is an interesting little game where everyone is a traitor, including you. But you better not get caught, or you'll face punishment. So, in Paranoia Red Clearance Edition, you have a treason rating, up to 5 stars. And for every treasonous act or accusation that you're kind of dealt, you gain a treason star. And if you get to 5 treason stars, well, that means you're a criminal. You got to be put to justice. Now, that might mean one of your comrades will turn on you and execute you for some sweet, sweet XP points. Or it might mean the computer will take matters into its own hands and vaporize you on the spot. It's really up to the luck of the dice and whatever you're feeling like at the moment.
And if you get vaporized, then what happens? You know, it's a bit annoying. You're a player, and all of a sudden your character's dead.
You know what? That would be an inconvenience in most other role-playing games, but not in Paranoia. In Paranoia, it actually encourages failure and encourages you to die, as weird as that might be, because you have clones. If you get vaporized, so what? A new clone will rise up out of your boots and take your place. Or maybe there'll be a pod that'll appear somewhere and bring you a new clone. Or maybe you hadn't died the whole time. It was just your evil twin clone. And now you came back to appear in the spotlight, as it were. And so, Paranoia, you're not meant to take life very seriously because you can die pretty easily. But there'll always be more of you, so you keep going.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, let's talk a little bit about the system itself.
Mm-hmm.
How does the system work?
Alright, so in Paranoia Red Clearance, you have 2 things which primarily influence how you succeed in your roles. There's your stat, and then there's your skills. So you have 4 stats. You have brains, violence, mechanics, and chutzpah. So brains is your typical, how smart you are, how much you know about particular ins and outs of things. Violence is your ability to hit stuff, break stuff, and be threatening, generally.
Okay.
Mechanics is your knowledge of how to do things, like how to operate heavy weapons, how to operate vehicles, how to operate strange machines. And then chutzpah is like your personality trait, like how intimidating are you, how charming, how deceptive or persuasive. And then your skills below that are like, you might be skilled in athletics and violence. Brains, you might know bureaucracy or alpha society. Chutzpah, deception and charm. And mechanics, you might be like engineering. And so if you were wanting to make a roll, let's say you wanted to pick a lock, you would take you would take one stat and one skill,
Okay.
And each one has a number. So let's say you have 4 brains, so that would give you 4 dice to roll. And this is a system where you're rolling d6s. So for every success, which is a 5 or 6, that's good for you. And everything that's a 1, that's a failure, that's bad for you. So you want to be rolling lots of 5s and 6s and no 1s. So you take a stat, so brains, and then you take a skill that would be relevant to the situation. So let's take the example of lock picking. Let's say you wanted to pick a lock. And so I'm going to use brains, because I'm smart. I know how to pick locks. And I'm going to use, perhaps, operate. That might work. Like, I know how to operate a lock. I know how to use a pin clip or a key or something. And if my operate is 2, it gives me 4 plus 2. I'm going to roll 6 dice plus the computer die. You always roll the computer die, because the computer is your friend, and it wants to help you. It'll give you an extra success if you want, but you might also roll a 1 on the computer die, which has the computer symbol on it, and if you do, friend computer might intervene or something strange might happen. What's also nice, though, about the stat plus skill or node number of dice system is that you can solve things in a variety of ways. So we just gave the lockpicking example of like brains plus operate. Pretty straightforward. But if you wanted to, let's say, use brains plus demolitions, and you're like, you know what?
I'm going to open the door.
Exactly. It's like, I'm smart. I'm going to rig up a small little bomb inside the mechanism, and I'm going to explode it. And you can go for that too.
Okay.
So it provides you with a variety of ways in which you can tackle scenarios, as much as your imagination can go, and how far the game master will allow.
Yeah, that's really good.
So playing the game, depending on what your security clearance is and what you're doing, you'll be assigned different kind of tasks. Reds get the lowest of the low. You're going to be cleaning out sewer systems. You're going to be doing other people's dirty work for them. You're going to be, fighting mutants in the sewers. But remember, knowing that mutants are in the sewers is treasonous, so you better not run into any mutants.
There aren't any mutants in the sewers. It's fine.
Yeah, it's all good. When it comes to things like combat, in terms of like how it mechanically works, the same kind of thing. If you want to do a basic action, you would do relevant stat plus a skill. So typically it would be violence plus athletics, or violence plus guns, I should say. Like you have your laser pistol, shoot the mutant that doesn't exist, and it dies, or it doesn't, because then again, it's not there. Paranoia combat goes, starting with initiative. Everyone takes 4 action cards from the deck. They look like this. These blue cards, they have a number on them, action order, from 1 to 10. And everyone will put a card face down, and the games master will start counting down from 10. 10, 9, 8, 7. Say, hey, I have 7. I'm going to go. And if no one challenges you on it, you get to go and take your turn. It's great. But this is Paranoia. You're not supposed to be working together in the regular sense. You're supposed to be bluffing each other, calling each other treasonous, and so on and so forth. And so, if someone thinks that, no, you're lying, you don't have a 7, they can call you out on it. And if they're right, you reveal your card, and they take your turn, you are moved to the bottom of the initiative order, and you lose your card, and it can only take a basic action. But if they're wrong, then they lose their card, move to the bottom of the initiative, and you get to take your turn free as normal. And so that gives you the first incentive to act. So you can use your action cards, which will have certain abilities on them, like suddenly knives. Somewhere you just see a knife that is useful in a situation, you may find a shiv, a spiky piece of pipe, and you use it in your next action. Or you can just take a basic action and use a stat plus skill, which everything seems relevant, and attack or interact with someone, or try to cause some commotion, that kind of a thing. I want to talk about equipment. This is relevant to this specific incarnation of equipment is relevant to Paranoia Red Clearance. Other games will have equipment as well. But in Paranoia Red Clearance, you have equipment cards that are purple, and they'll give you an extra boost to your actions. So this one gives you violence, or this one uses violence plus 3. So it will increase your violence when you're using this equipment. It takes violence plus 3, so whatever your violence skill is, and you add 3 to that. And you can use these at when you have equipment, you can use them anytime. You can use them during combat. You can use them like in general when you're doing social interactions or exploring or whatever else you need. Just that happens that in Red Clearance Edition, you get these little cards for them. But of course, you can always make your own items. The GM can give you items, and so on and so forth. Maybe something more specific to Paranoia is the mutations. Now, unfortunately, discrimination is alive and well in Alpha Society. It hasn't managed to break that barrier quite yet.
And it is color-based discrimination.
It is color-based discrimination. You're right, the worst kind.
Yeah.
But there's also discrimination against mutants. Now, whatever it is, Alpha Society sees mutants as aberrations. Aberrations. And so if you're a mutant, you better keep that hidden. And you'll get these mutations, which you can use through Moxie. So Moxie is like a resource, and it's also your ability to use more abilities. Or it's the resource that you use to
power all your abilities.
Power your abilities, yeah. Okay. So Moxie lets you add dice to your rolls, you roll a die, and it powers your mutations. So if I want to use my telepathy mutation, it would cost me, let's say, a Moxie point, and I can send you a message, and we can have a brief conversation kind of thing. And then your mutations, you can get more than one, depending on how many times you dip yourself in radioactive goo, or just how many times that you've been vaporized by a friend computer and you got molecularly reassembled the wrong way. It can come in any kind of shape or form, the mutations.
Your mutations carry over between your clones.
They do. They do carry over. Okay. It's one of the strange little features. Like, your clone seems to, even though you were brought back by a friend computer, and society knows how your clones are created, you retain your mutations. Who knows? Don't ask too many questions. If you ask too many questions, that could be considered treasonous.
Yeah.
That's always
look,
the answer.
My new clone. Why does my new clone have this mutation? Next clone appears.
Exactly. Oh, and there's a little point I want to mention too. There's a little funny thing. We're talking about discrimination. One of the barriers Alpha Society has managed to conquer is homophobia. Because friend computer doesn't seem to understand what it's like when two men engage in kind of rough play between each other. Just thinks it's, in the book refers to it as enthusiastic wrestling, and it openly encourages it to promote social bonding. And I think that's a great thing.
Why do you like Paranoia?
Well, I like Paranoia for a lot of reasons. Primarily because it's really like a funny RPG system, and I haven't played a lot of those myself. And so, as a DM or as a player, you're encouraged to just do the wildest thing, since if your clones die, who cares? You just get another clone. So if it gets blended up in a giant whirling blade made of lasers, then cool, you grab another clone, toss them back in.
Okay.
Or the DM can say like, hey, friend computers can intervene, and it suspects you of terrorism. How are you going to respond? And you're like, I don't know any terrorists. And it's like, you tell the names of 3 other terrorists, or you'll be considered a terrorist or something. So you can do all sorts of wacky things like that. It's interesting too because since player death is so common, like if you lose no clones in a game, you are Jesus Christ. You are just a perfect miracle man or woman or other.
Or asleep.
Or asleep. You might have been asleep the whole time and just didn't manage to lose a clone. If you are asleep for the whole time, though, I would wonder what you were doing playing at an RPG table. But I have fallen asleep during RPG games, though never for the duration, I have to say.
Oh, that's never a good thing.
Oh no, that was my own fault though. But anyway,
okay.
Another thing too, the last thing I guess I would say about why Paranoia is good and why you also should like it if you don't want to risk friend computer's anger, is that it creates a lot of opportunity for improv, both on the DM side and on the player side, because the game is not meant to be taken too seriously. You can play it that way, and that's fine, and then if that's how you want to do it, that's good, but at its core, Paranoia is about doing silly things, having contradictions happen all the time, and letting limbs, blood, and people fly, because that's the way to play the game.
Yeah. I notice you have some books next to you. Would you like to tell me what they are?
Yeah, so these are some of the books from the previous edition, Paranoia XP. I believe these are the 25th anniversary copies. Yep, 25th anniversary. And they are great in terms of using for like splat books or modules, or for more like flavor or lore for your characters and for the world of Alpha Society. Or Alpha Society? I've been saying Alpha Society. It's Alpha Complex. Alpha Complex. This is not...
You've lost a clone.
Yeah, that's it. I'm sorry. Any mentions to Alpha Society are revisionist propaganda. It was never called Alpha Society, ever. Always Alpha Complex. And we have a bunch of these here at Harry T. I really love them. They go deep into the lore of Alpha Complex. And they just show you how messed up the world really is in Alpha Complex. It's cool stuff. I should have to more formally.
So, what's in flashbacks?
Oh, so flashbacks is kind of not a rehash, but like a rebooting of some of the most popular modules from the previous edition, from before Paranoia XP. They put them all in this one, kind of like the Tomb of Horrors, or what was the one in D&D they did, collecting Tales from the Yawning Portal. Yeah, like Tales from the Yawning Portal, but for Paranoia.
You can find this game online at heriT.com on our store, or at our physical store at 3456 Yonge Street in Toronto. Until next time, see you later.